And so we must return to the question of the possibility, and I'm almost done, possibility of the mind and the body joining somewhere. But where? And here's a quote from Charles. Is this from proprioception? The body of us as object, which spontaneously or of its own order produces experience of depth, vis-a-vis sensibility within the organism by movement of its own tissues. I mean, he said this in the 50s, and I read this in 1975. What propels us is a fundamental desire to move, and also a fundamental desire to know. And after all, it is from sheer act of moving that the baby finds its way to interact with people and objects in space. This is learning at its very base. Therefore, what we think and perceive is tied up with the history of our body's movement sense and our body's body feeling, okay? Body feeling, synesthesia. This means each human carries a signature corresponding to the history of their unique developmental experience. Movement knowledge, then, has to have a body-mind function as it facilitates both repatterning at a motoric level and recollecting at the level of the psyche. Okay? I'm very excited by this. When people are touched, they feel something. When they feel something, they are moved. And when they move, they remember. Okay? Therefore, the proprioceptive purpose of movement is like psychoanalysis. It's a hermeneutic. It carries a message and leads the follower, be it even an infant, along the path of interpretation. To move is to know thyself. Olson's brilliant point in one of his many versions of the place and the thing and the act of action, has that ever been published?
I'm not sure.
How did we get it? Okay. There's an essay called The Place and the Thing and the Act of the Action. And he says, it's the brilliant point is that the body, our physiology, has to look at itself without stopping. You have to, it's like it's happening, okay? So he writes, to make action like a pond with a clear frozen surface, look down into it without freezing it at all, it has extreme value to do. Olson calls it the vector experience, dimension, density, complexity, or the data of the depth of sensibility in proprioception, and he writes, one knows something one can't know without so disposing oneself to oneself. One acquires the outward experience inside. Yes, and the arrival of this knowing is housed in what Rio would identify as the synesthetic domain, the repository of all the stuff that knows stuff, the contents of the house. Okay, now lastly, the only way to play this out is to bring in Paul Valery, truly my long-time mentor on how to write about the body. There is a little essay entitled The Problem of the Three Bodies. Does anybody know this essay? In which he might have achieved the most accurate description of what Olson kept ruminating on, which was the fact that the body is simultaneously the act and the object in a series of unstoppable moments. Let me see if I can surmise. Valery states that there are three bodies to which body responds. The first, my body, is a strange asymmetrical space that has no past or future, but is wholly made up of events and impending events. The my body has no name, but we speak of it as if it does, and we belong to it. Okay, that's good. The second body is the one that others see, the one that confronts us in the mirror or in portraits, and is the body that has form. Beyond the sense of sight, the second body is one that moves and acts upon the environment. The third body is the fantastic journey. It's all the parts, the liquids, hyalines, tissue, bone, sponge, vessel, tubes, and fibers. The third body is the pieces to a machine, a histological cryptogram to which we must zero in on piece by piece. It's a fragment. Valery tricks us by his title because at the end of the essay he adds a fourth body, one which he calls the real body. He explains this body as being indivisible from the unknown and the unknowable. And he asks, why bring up this utterly fruitless notion? He answers himself by restating this list of the three bodies, identifying them as 1, offers us nothing but moments, 2, makes us witness to visions, 3 is a series of ruthless dissections, and 4, however, ascends out of the collage of all the previous 3, to which Valerie gives the name, I would love to talk more about this, non-existence, but only as a kind of incarnation. Okay. And I say that which we approach but don't quite occupy. So, let's use this word. Might it be that proprioception is an approach, capitals. It's an approach that leads us day in and day out to our depth sensibilities and the incarnate that Valerie speaks of. That's our homeopathic for the meaning of existence as we leap from one synapse to the next, only to find ourselves again dancing inside the proprioceptive universe.